Coming up this week on WVU News, I'll tell you how West Virginia's newly elected senator made history.
I'm Kelly Clinton, and coming up next on WVU News, I had the chance to talk to one of our nation's youngest politicians.
Election day is coming on. I'm Zach Oser, and I'll tell you why the Mountain State has turned from blue to red. Our award-winning WVU News starts right now.
One West Virginia woman is making history in the nation's capital. Find out her journey to the U.S. Senate. I'm Kylie Putnam.
And I'm Whitley Rose. Learn about how one party took back control of the nation's Congress for the first time in nearly 10 years. These stories and more on our After the Vote special edition of WVU News. All 435 seats of the House of Representatives and the 36 seats of the Senate were up for re-election this year.
The nation watched as two women candidates competed for the West Virginia Senate seat. I had the chance to speak with our newly elected senator that made history.
We are sending a woman to the United States.
Shelley Capito is now West Virginia's new senator. Capito earned the first Senate GOP pickup of the night, with officials calling the election early at 7:30 p.m.
My daughter said, "Mom, my phone's blowing up. They've already called your election."
Capito is West Virginia's first female senator in history. She hopes to set a precedent for young girls who aspire to be leaders.
I hope young girls will someday say, "Hey, I remember when that lady was elected to the U.S. Senate. I'd like to try to do that."
Along with her family members, young and old, Capito received a surprising phone call the night she found out she won.
I can tell you the first phone call that I received was from President George W. Bush. He was the first one who called me, and so that was a nice congratulatory call to receive.
It has been nearly 60 years since West Virginia has sent a Republican to the Senate. Capito will now join Democrat Joe Manchin in Washington, replacing retiring Jay Rockefeller, who served nearly 3 decades in the Senate.
I think brings a two-party system back to the state, and I think that's good for negotiation, good for bringing better ideas, and for joining together to make sure we're making the right decision.
Right here at the Capitol building in Charleston, West Virginia, Shelley Capito will become West Virginia's first female senator after winning all 55 counties in the state.
I'm Shelley Capito, and I approve this message.
Capito says she's eager to get West Virginia back to work and bring her ideas to Washington.
I'm really excited about testing my voice to see how much power and influence I can have. And I want to make sure that I leave no stone unturned.
She will officially take office in January 2015. Congress will have 21 female senators if incumbent Mary Landrieu from Louisiana wins her runoff election.
If Landrieu wins this term, the Senate will have the highest number of female senators in history.
Senator Shelley Capito isn't the only female making history in the recent election.
That's right, one WVU student has big plans for the 59th district. Reporter Kylie Clinton is here to tell us about the freshman.
Thanks, Kylie and Whitley. West Virginia recently elected one of the youngest politicians in the country to the State House of Delegates. Shockingly, this wasn't Sarah Blair's first big win. Blair defeated Republican Larry Kump in the primary election before she was even old enough to vote, and Blair recently defeated candidate Lane Dale in the midterms. I had the chance to talk about why she ran and her plans for the future.
I think it's time that our generation learns the importance of conservative principles, and there's no better way to do that than just to run.
WVU student Sarah Blair recently became one of the youngest politicians in the country. At only 18 years old, she beat her opponent 63% to 30% for a seat in West Virginia's House of Delegates.
I mean, age doesn't matter. It's all about the qualities you hold and how hard you work.
Sarah is an economics major with the plan of becoming a financial advisor. She decided to run her junior year in high school after attending youth in government.
Some of the ideas I saw students come up with and how capable they were of doing the same job that people 40 years older than them were doing, I decided that I didn't need to wait to run, and that my generation didn't need to be 30, 40, or 50 to understand that we could get involved now.
Here, right behind me in Summit Hall, Sarah ran the majority of her campaign from her dorm room. Her room was filled with campaign posters, brochures, and cards in a 10 by 10 space. Her campaign focuses on her uncompromising principles, which are pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, and pro-employment.
Most importantly, I want to bring jobs to the state of West Virginia. Too many people my age get their high school and then their college education here, and then they leave because there aren't jobs for graduates.
While some students may not agree with her platform, they feel that her winning can change the way many millennials see their generation.
So by her running and getting her name out there, I think that will bring my generation, the millennials, to the polls, hopefully at least.
Sarah is planning on deferring her next 2 semesters so she can focus on her duties as a delegate. Blair hopes to create jobs in West Virginia in order to retain college graduates once they finish school. Her ambitions could be seen as an inspiration to the millennial generation. Kylie, back to you.
Thanks, Callie. From one young delegate that's just starting her career to a senior senator that's ending his. Senator Jay Rockefeller did not run in the 2014 election, but his legacy will not be forgotten. WVU plans to honor him with a new institution. The political science program recently broke away from WVU's Eberly College of Arts and Science and will create its own institution known as the John D. Rockefeller School of Policy and Politics. In addition to the new school, WVU's Wise Library will house Rockefeller's 2,000-some documents, data, and memorabilia. After serving 5 consecutive terms, Rockefeller already knows what he's going to do with his free time.
All I ever spent my whole life is reading policy papers. I want to read. I love my grandchildren. You know, everybody says that, but you wait till you have grandchildren. You'll go crazy every second you're apart from them.
You can visit Rockefeller's work at WVU's downtown library. The tribute was the last time Rockefeller will be in the Wise Library as a senator.
For the first time in nearly 50 years, West Virginia's entire Senate switched from Democrat to Republican.
Yes, Whitley, the Republicans conquered the midterm elections, winning all seats in the U.S. House of Representatives for West Virginia in the first time in 93 years.
Reporter Zachary Ozer is here in the studio to tell us about the switch. Zach, what influenced West Virginia to change their ways?
Between turnout rates of 37% and Obama's approval rating around 40%, West Virginians were feeling indifferent when it came to this year's midterm elections. I had a chance to find out why some voters had a change of heart.
Republicans taking control of the U.S. Senate in a midterm election rout.
In the 2012 West Virginia Senate elections, Democrats took 52 of the 55 counties. 2014 was a much different story. Registered Democrat Jamie Parker says social issues changed his vote.
If I don't agree or can't trust a candidate's morals and social beliefs, then for me, how am I going to be able to trust what they're going to do fiscally or with foreign policy?
Longtime resident John Casey didn't vote at all because he thinks his vote would be a waste.
I didn't vote this year. It's the first time I didn't vote. I usually vote Democrat, but I didn't vote this year because of what I perceived to be a lack of candidates. Couldn't really, there's no candidate that really reached out and grabbed me.
According to exit polls, 47% of voters said their vote was influenced by President Obama. The economy was one of the biggest issues among West Virginians, and 59% of people concerned about it voted Republican. West Virginia University political science professor Patrick Hickey says that the state trend has been going Republican for a while.
And so I think it starts with the Civil Rights Act. I think the second wave of this realignment is Ronald Reagan being really popular and getting more people to vote Republican. And then here in West Virginia, I think the third wave is opposition to President Obama.
Voter turnout was another big issue for Democrats. Republicans had the highest voting percentage at 43%. Independents were just behind that with 42%, while Democrats fell far behind both of them with only 15% of the voting percentage. This made it easy for Republicans to dominate midterm elections. Early polling suggests West Virginia will go Republican again in 2016, something Democrats will have 2 years to try to change. And it wasn't just voters changing parties. State Senator Daniel Hall switched his party affiliation. Before the switch, West Virginia's Senate was at a 17-17 tie. When his color changed, it allowed the Republicans to hold majority. Kylie and Whitley, back to you.
While some West Virginians are switching their party's affiliation, others choose to not have any affiliation at all.
That's right. According to Pew Research, millennials are reported as having the highest level of disaffiliation.
And reporter Katie Fitzgerald had a chance to hit the streets to find out which millennials are hitting the polls.
With roughly 86 million Americans between the ages of 18 to 29, the millennial generation is the largest in our country's history, even bigger than the baby boomers. West Virginia University grad student Zachary King voted in this year's midterm elections.
I think it's good for millennials to go and vote because they can fight for what they want through vote.
Nearly 10 million millennials voted in this year's midterm elections. Although that number may sound big to you and I, that's only 13% of registered voters between the ages of 18 to 29. The primary election got attention of some students, but not all.
I think as an American citizen, that's the best thing you can do is get out and voice your opinion.
I think the people that go and vote are the people on the extremes.
Millennials are the core part of the Democratic Party's coalition. But in this year's primary election, the Democrats' advantage was cut in half. Although the voter turnout already isn't as high, the drop-off for young voters was more dramatic than most years.
It's really important for, number one, because they need to have that experience of voting. They need to be learning about the election process.
The 2016 presidential election is coming up, and by then, millennials should be roughly 36% of the eligible voters and about a third of actual votes. Katie Fitzgerald, WVU News, Morgantown.
Research shows that the most important issues millennials look at are the economy, debt, spending, and terrorism.
And millennials are the first generation to have lower levels of wealth and power compared to previous generations. About 7 out of 10 Americans say that millennials are facing more economic challenges than their elders.
Millennials may not be starting the lines in the polls, but they are leading likes on social media. In a recent Pew study, voters are 3 times as likely to track candidates through social media. In recent election studies prove Republicans were more active on Facebook while Democrats took to Twitter. Using social media can be influential in not only sharing arguments, but persuading peers to get out and vote. Some trending hashtags on Twitter were hashtag voter selfie, election 2014, midterm 2014, and rock the vote.
WVU's basketball team is tipping off this season with victory.
That's right, sports anchor Jimmy Zito will tell us about the upcoming basketball season.
Stay with us.
Basketball season has arrived. I'm Jimmy Zito, and straight ahead on WVU News, I'm going to preview the upcoming season.
We're all different. Our interests, our backgrounds can influence our futures. But without focus, they're just dreams. But what if someone could give your interests life? If they could give your background power? If they could fuel what motivates you? That's what gives dreams meaning, purpose. And perhaps that was the moment you knew you wanted to be a mountaineer.
While the football season is winding down with WVU ranked 5th in the Big 12, basketball season is just getting started.
Sports anchor Jimmy Zito is here with a season preview. Jimmy, what do we have to look forward to this winter?
Well, Kylie, the WVU men's basketball team is preparing to play 29 games this season against some top teams like the Kansas Jayhawks and the Texas Longhorns. On average, more than 8,000 fans attend a WVU men's basketball game, and players need to keep up their victories in order to keep the seats filled. 17 players are on the roster this year, and I had a chance to see what some of those players have in store for the season. Take a look.
Now let's roll out the carpet and bring on the Mountaineers.
Winter is approaching, and that means time for basketball season. The WVU men's team is looking forward to bounce back after a disappointing year in 2014 with an overall record of 17-16. Newcomer Daxter Miles Jr. is excited about the depth the team brings this season.
I feel good about this season and about the team. We got a lot of guys.
Despite losing some key players due to them transferring schools, the Mountaineers still have players that can contribute. And Coach Bob Huggins says it's a team game, and there's no guarantees of a starting 5 just yet.
That's what I talk to our guys about all the time. It's not about it's about us, and I don't have one.
Senior guard and newly appointed captain Gary Brown says that none of the guys are worried about starting. They just want to win.
I mean, we're not worried about that. We're just worried about everybody playing hard and doing what we ask them to do.
Big 12 preseason player of the year, Juwan Staten, will play a key role in the success that the Mountaineers have this season. He averaged 18 points and 5 assists last year. With the ball in Staten's hands every trip up the court, the Mountaineers will have a shot against anybody in the Big 12. Since the Mountaineers entered the Big 12 back in the 2011-2012 season, they've had 14 wins and 23 losses in conference play. That's going to need to change if they want a shot at the NCAA tournament. The Mountaineers have started the season with a 2-0 record and are preparing to go overseas for the Puerto Rico tip-off tournament. The Mountaineers are starting the season off strong, defeating the Monmouth Hawks 64-54 and the Lafayette Leopards 83-56. That's it for sports. Kylie and Whitley, back to you.
Well, that's all we have for our After the Vote special edition.
If you're interested in getting involved in your local government, you can check out the website below. I'm Whitley Rose.
And I'm Kylie Putnam. You can check us out online and watch our previous episodes of WVU News on YouTube. Don't forget to follow us and our reporters on Twitter. This concludes our fall edition of WVU News. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the spring.